All right, Shalom. First off, I'm going to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. Yahweh being the Heavenly Father's true name, Yahweh Shai being the name of his only begotten Son. Giving double honor unto the elders and the apostles, a great millstone who rule well and teach well. All right, and peace, blessings, and salutations to all you walking throughout the four corners of the earth, continuing to push and do the works in truth and in sincerity. All right, this is Brother Masha, one of the men coming up under the branch out here in Des Moines camp. I'm here with a quick lesson. And it's gonna be my response, to the video that was put up by the elder brothers out there in the Boston camp. Going in to the dialogue they had with that Christian that came up, right? And pretty much going into the topic of the strangers, okay? Because this precept that I have pulled up here is the precept that individual, all right, tried to bring to use that this is talking about a heathen, but really it's not. All right, and after watching other lessons going into it, and and whatnot, I just thought I'd give my take on it. What really ultimately is what the scriptures say. So I'm gonna read this precept. This is 1 Kings chapter 8 and verse 41, because ultimately this is a prayer too that King Solomon was doing, that he was praying unto the Lord, all right, for the nation of Israel concerning the temple, all right. And I'm not sure what verse it was, but there's a verse. Matter of fact, let's try to find it. I'm gonna just get to the point, But I know it was a precept where he mentions if the people of Israel be in the land of their enemies, all right, and bethink themselves and pray, okay, toward this temple, then hear thou in heaven, all right. And I just wanted to make that point because ultimately this prayer, all right, was a prophetic prayer, okay. Going into when Jake is scattered in the enemy's land, it applied then and it applies even till now, all right. So it's only really ultimately applying onto the nation of Israel. But this is 1 Kings chapter 8 and verse 41. It reads, "Moreover, concerning a stranger that is not of thy people Israel, but cometh out of a far country for thy name's sake, for they shall hear of thy great name and of thy strong hand and of thy stretched out arm, when he shall come and pray toward this house, hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and do according to all that the stranger calleth to thee for, that all people of the earth may know thy name, to fear thee, as do thy people Israel, and that they may know that this house which I have builded is called by thy name." All right, so we're going to focus on verse 41. It says, "Moreover, concerning a stranger that is not of thy people Israel, but cometh out of a far country for thy name's sake." All right. So Solomon is also praying for this stranger here, that is not of thy people Israel. But we're gonna get understanding on that, all right? Because when we go to Leviticus chapter 25, all right, it shows you that this is a law going into how to deal with your fellow brother, which is an Israelite. All right. Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 35, it reads, "And if thy brother be waxing poor and fallen in decay with thee," so it said, what if thy brother, right? So this law is concerning only the Israelites because it was given to the Israelites, right? So a fellow Israelite, a fellow brother, "And if thy brother be waxing poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee. All right. So it's saying if a fellow Israelite is poor and doesn't have anything, or he doesn't have a place to stay, all right, then what? It's saying he can be considered. It just said it. All right. So here it's showing you that an Israelite can be considered a stranger or a sojourner. You know, whether they've moved out of the land of Israel, and are living in a different country, all right, or they're coming back. You know, hey, they can be considered a stranger. You know, because they don't have a place to stay. All right. But what? Even on another aspect, you know, that I wanted to go into within this lesson, okay? You know, ultimately, as a whole, how did Jake become strangers to the Lord? All right? So let's go into that. Because ultimately, like it says in Jeremiah, let's get that real quick. This is Jeremiah chapter 10. It's down at the top. Hear ye the word of the Lord, which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. All right. So you know the Lord said, learn not the way of the heathen. Okay. So what did Jake eventually do? Jake went off and started serving other gods. All right, which is other gods that these other heathen nations that were around Jake, all right, served. Okay, so that's Jake going off and what? Because even King Solomon, what did King Solomon do? All right, like matter of fact, let's get it. All right, you know, because ultimately it happened for a reason, you know. But you know, even our King Solomon, he ended up worshiping other gods. Let's get it. This is First Kings chapter 11 and verse starting at the top. It says, "But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, woman of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which the Lord said unto the children of Israel, Ye shall not go in to them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods." Solomon clave unto these in love, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. So what? Solomon started going after the gods of his wives. Reading on. For it came to pass when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his power, as was the heart of David his father. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord, and went not fully after the Lord, as did David his father. All right. So right here is showing you what he went after these other gods. Okay. So what he started going into the customs of them other gods, them other heathens. All right. If you're worshiping them, then worshiping them, okay, then you're gonna start to take on their customs and do what they do, right? So this is ultimately the reason and the start of how the kingdom split. All right. That's when the Lord came to him and said unto him, because thou hast done this, I'm going to rend the kingdom from you. All right. So once Solomon did this, this is when the kingdom split. And when the kingdom split, all right, the northern kingdom, all right, a lot of kings of the northern kingdom continue to go off and do evil. All right. You had King Ahab. Okay. He was the one who provoked the Lord to anger the most, because he built what? He built the house. All right, like King Solomon built a temple for the Lord, he ended up building a house for Baal. I believe it was within Samaria. Okay, so you know, just retelling, the historical things, that went down, but to ultimately cause the Lord, all right, to cast Jacob away. All right, so let's get Ezekiel chapter 14. And matter of fact, we'll just start at the top. All right. Because Ezekiel, okay, he was also sent, all right, after the kingdom. He was also prophesying against Israel after the kingdom split. Let's read about it. This is Ezekiel chapter 14 and verse 1. Then came certain of the elders of Israel unto me and sat before me. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their heart, and put the stumbling block of their iniquity before their face. Should I be inquired of all? Should I be inquired of at all by them? Therefore speak unto them, and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord power, every man of the house of Israel that setteth up his idols in his heart, and putteth the stumbling block of his iniquity before his face, and cometh to the prophet, I the Lord will answer him that cometh concerning to the multitude of his idols. All right. So this is going into once again to the elders. Okay, they were going off. All right, and it's gonna show you as we read on. Worshiping other idols and whatnot. Verse 5: that I may take the house of Israel in their own heart, because they are all estranged from me through their idols. And I'm gonna come back to that verse 5, but matter of fact, I'll just go into it now. But pretty much it shows you what, it says it in verse 4. All right. It says, Thus saith the Lord power, every man of the house of Israel that setteth up his idols in his heart, and putteth the stumbling block of his iniquity before his face. All right, so showing you that Jake was going off. All right, and as you continue to read down, it was going on within the temple. All right, because the Lord told Ezekiel to poke a hole, okay, and to take a peek. All right, but let's go into that word estranged real quick. All right. Because ultimately, this is the whole story. This is what Jake became, okay, from going off. All right. The word estranged, it goes into the Hebrew word tazawar. All right. And it means what? To be strange, be a stranger, to become estranged, strange, another stranger, foreigner, enemy. Okay. So now, in the eyes of the Lord, okay, after doing that so much, they became strangers, okay, they became foreigners, okay, an enemy unto the Lord, all right. So, as a whole, the majority of Jake fell away, all right. But so I got that word there. So from here, let's grab 1 Corinthians in the New Testament, all right, because when Paul came, this is why he called them that as well, all right. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, and starting at the top, it says, Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, I would not have you ignorant. Ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as you were led. All right. So this is how Jake became strangers, okay? All right, because they were in a Gentile state of mind, and they were serving these other idols, these other gods, okay, the gods of the heathens, all right, and going into these other customs, all right. And I want to go back to that word stranger in 1 Kings 8 real quick, all right. 1 Kings 8, the word stranger, it comes from the Hebrew word nacharya, or the na, the ha, the ra, and the ya. Nacharya, it means what? Foreign, alien, foreigner. Okay. So it means to become a foreigner, right? Let's go back to this. All right. See, it says the same thing. To be strange, be a stranger. All right. Third definition: strange, another stranger, foreigner, enemy. All right. So how did Jake become strangers or foreigners? By serving other gods and these other idols. Okay. So got this 1 Corinthians 12 It says, you know that you were Gentiles carried away onto these dumb idols, even as you were led, right? And this is Paul speaking unto Israelites, okay, that were scattered abroad, all right? Because he, as the scripture says, he was to be a light unto the Gentiles, all right? But ultimately, as a whole, Jake, Jake fell away, all right? So from here, let's get Ephesians chapter 4. So like I think it's the second chapter. Con. This is Ephesians chapter 4 and verse Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 11. All right. It says, wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. Okay, now another point. Now this here is Paul speaking to the Gentiles that were able to come back and hear the truth, right? But they were Gentiles. Why? Because they went and they served other gods, okay, and they were scattered abroad. All right. So, but Paul's saying what? Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands, right? But ultimately, as a whole, we can apply it onto Israel right now, okay? Because concerning the great fall, after the great falling away, all right, which ultimately started, when the Romans came, all right, in 70 AD, okay? That's when the great falling away started, all right? And from that point on, that's when Jake ended up coming here to the Americas and whatnot, But it was a certain point where, the majority of Israel didn't know or have a clue who they were, all right? And were what? In a Gentile state of mind, But verse 12 reads that at that time you were without Hamashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope, and without the Most High in the world. All right. So this is Paul calling them strangers again. Why did he call them strangers? Because what? And it says what? Being aliens, okay, from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise. All right. So Paul's calling them the same thing. Okay. That Ezekiel, okay, when you go into it, is saying about Jake. All right. It's saying that they're estranged, okay, through the idols, and when you go into it, it means what? To be a stranger or a foreigner, right? So Paul's saying the same thing. I'm gonna reread it again. That at that time you were without Hamashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope, and without the Most High in the world. But now Hamashiach Yahushai, ye who sometimes were, but now in Hamashiach Yahushai, ye who sometimes were far off are made nigh by the blood of Hamashiach. Right. All right. Because once again, okay, when you go back to the law, okay, it was certain customs and laws that you had to keep. And if you didn't keep them, then you were cut off. All right. Verse 14. So okay, let me look at it real quick. I know it's another precept I wanted. I'm gonna jump down to verse 19. And it reads, now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of the Most High. All right. So just, grabbing this to show that, Paul's calling them these Gentiles that were converted again. All right. He's saying that they're no more Gentiles. Or Salakia, no more strangers and foreigners. Right. So that word strangers, okay, is really ultimately applying, all right, in those precept, it's like it. In those precepts that we grabbed, okay, 1 Kings 8, all right, um, and whatnot, was Salakia, and I believe it was another precept, but it was Isaiah 56, yeah. In Isaiah 56, all right, but those precepts that when it mentions strangers, it's ultimately applying onto Israelites, okay, that were in it um that were falling away from the customs, all right, of being an Israelite, whether it be the Gentiles scattered abroad, or Jake, being in a Gentile state of mind, which makes you a stranger unto the Most High, So I just wanted to grab that, I hope it made sense. I hope it was edifying, Salakia if I was all over the place, you know. Want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai for putting the spirit upon me to do this lesson. Giving double honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. And peace, blessings, and salutations to our Yuakim throughout the four corners of the earth, continuing to push and do the works in truth and in sincerity. Shalom.